Well, you're all over the story, and we know what the story is. Break up the Bears. The Bears too good to be allowed to continue at the level that they're playing. Just phenomenal stuff yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, dominating victory over the Buffalo Bills, 38 points. Bears haven't scored that many points in the preseason since 1999. It's only their second shutout in preseason since 1994. So they played, I thought they're terrific on both sides of the ball. You can take note of the fact that who was out there for the Bills, but you still got to go out there and put it on them and execute. And the Bills were the sloppier team in terms of penalties. We saw way too much of that officiating crew last night. The expedited review. Well, they don't have to expedite the review. If you get the call right from the jump, they're not going to have to. That's what will actually expedite things.
That was the longest review.
That was the longest game.
Yeah, it was. That was
the longest game, Brad.
Well, then you got Sean McDermott down by 31 throwing a challenge flag. Yeah. Sean, hasn't your stay in Chicago gone long enough? Listen, 13 plays, I think it was, for the first team offense, minus a couple guys, Joe Tooney. We didn't see DeAndre Swift. I think you got exactly what you wanted out of Caleb Williams and how he looked. And then, again, the defense played well, and I thought Tyson Bagent did a nice job.
Sharp.
So so they should be relatively pleased, I think, when they go over the film this morning on what's going to be a short week, guys. Tuesday practice, Wednesday practice, full pads. Thursday, you end up getting on an airline and going to Kansas City to tangle with the Chiefs on Friday night. So a quick turnaround for the final preseason game.
Brad, let's zoom out for a moment. So go back to last Friday. And from last Friday in the joint practice session with the Bills through last night, overall, and I know the Bills didn't play their starters, but the Bears have to be encouraged. And I guess I'm asking how much they are encouraged by the fact that whether it's in terms of being physical, whether it's in terms of executing the offense and being efficient, they matched up pretty well with one of the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah, they were able to execute efficiently. Some of the pre-snap issues that we've seen throughout camp, not just the first 3-4 days of camp. That's been a kind of an ongoing thing. That wasn't a problem for them. And again, you got what you want from the starting offense. You can't put really any stock in the outcome. Like they went to Orchard Park, played the Bills last summer in preseason. You could see the new stadium they're actually constructing across the parking lot from the current one, and they put it on the Bills like 33-6. It was a similar final score, and we know that the Bills were one of the very best teams in the league last year, and the Bears were laughing stock. So I don't think you can get carried away, but some certain key things you were looking for, you certainly saw, and that was the offense. Like for that 7-play touchdown drive,
right?
I don't think I know they have not had too many series of 7 consecutive plays in training camp against their own defense that have been executed to that level. There hasn't been a ton of that going on. Has there been some better practices from Caleb, some decent outings? Absolutely. Certainly more in the last 10 days than in the 10 days prior to that. But that was good. That was sharp. Guys, they had all last season, so this was a 92-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah.
All last regular season, they had 3 scoring drives of 80 yards or more, 2 of them for a touchdown, 1 for a field goal. So like last year, if they're getting the ball on their own 25 or closer to the goal line, like the chances of that thing resulting in points were real low. So again, because the kickoff's kind of mishandled there by Tyler Scott,
Yes.
starting deep in their own end, and you're like, oh boy, here they go. And it was like 2 plays, and they were out to midfield, and you saw Caleb make some nice reads. There were a couple nice plays on that second drive that sort of short-circuited as well. Nice job of identifying man coverage and getting the ball to DJ Moore on a 3rd and 5. Mm-hmm. So positive things in a 13-play effort for that starting offense that was minus a couple guys. We didn't see Swift, as I mentioned, that Joe Tooney, the left guard, didn't play as well.
It's a preseason game, and you don't get too excited about it, but I was trying to remember as I watched them march down the field, and you're right, bad field position, had a holding call in the middle of that drive too. It didn't matter. Didn't they put together some horrible statistic on opening drives last year? Didn't they struggle?
They put a horrible statistic together in first quarters last year. The Bears last year, guys, scored a grand total of 27 points in the first quarter. That's 1.6 on average, 32nd in the National Football League.
And no offensive touchdowns on opening drives last year.
Yes, and they did it.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was the first quarter. Right. They were almost guaranteed to be trying to play from behind. So Brad,
what I thought was very interesting is, they obviously had Caleb operating under center, but they had him in the shotgun, and they did a good job of kind of mixing that up. Is that what you've seen at practice all year long? Yeah. Are they doing that? Yeah. That wasn't new. That was just they like to go under center, run some play action, and then I think they ran a couple of running plays out of the shotgun too.
Yeah, you're gonna probably see him under center a little bit more than he was last year, but it's not like they're taking the quarterback and moving him under center. And I think Caleb had some interesting comments after the game, guys, about how they, wasn't long ago that they had finally completed their install days, right, in training camp. And so they feel like the improved efficiency and production probably has a little bit to do with the fact that they're done with that, and now it's kind of review, tweak, and that kind of thing, and you would imagine some of the things that maybe just consistently didn't go well for them in install period, they've kind of shelved, at least for the time being.
Brad, I thought it was really interesting post-game when Ben Johnson was describing Braxton Jones's play and where they are with the offensive tackle, the left tackle specifically. And when he talked about Braxton Jones showing flashes of his old self, but also learning how to lose slow. If you're going to get beat in a way that doesn't destroy the play. And although there's an understanding of how far Braxton Jones has to go, but Brad, in that moment, I felt like we were getting a pecking order that was more clear than maybe it was before the game or before the week. Would you agree? Braxton Jones, maybe Benedict, and then Tripoli?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty consistent about that since camp opened. Like, this has looked all along like Braxton was going to be the leading candidate, based largely on the fact that he's got 40 career starts. And, Ozzie Trapillo got a long look at left tackle really until just this past week. And we'll see, where they've got him lining up on Tuesday, but didn't look real comfortable at that left tackle spot. And, it hasn't been, I don't think it's been great at right tackle. Like, I think long term, Ozzie's going to get it figured out and be okay. I think trying to get him ramped up and thrown into the mix week one as a rookie, like that's a tall order, and that's a tall order for a lot of second round offensive tackles. So we'll see where it goes this week. And this is not to take anything away from the impression that Theo Benedett has left on people in the building in terms of the improvement and that thing. And I think one thing when we have the discussion here, Dave, about the pecking order and who could start against the Vikings, I think the one thing that we need to include in that conversation is Ben made it clear this past week that the guy who's named week 1 starter isn't necessarily the 2025 season starter, in that they expect that guy to have to maintain a level of play in order to keep that job, or he flat out said, we'll get somebody else in there. So if Braxton's the guy against the Vikings on Monday, 3 weeks from tonight, right, which I expect, he's going to have to play to a level to keep that job. Competition is still going to be a legitimate thing in practice for the Bears for that job. So after the coaches look at the film, maybe we'll get a little bit of a hint as to how they evaluated it. But I think it probably is Braxton, and given the options and the vast disparity in experience and such, I think that was really the way it was going to head all along, unless physically there was something that Braxton just couldn't accomplish.
I saw Kieran Amagaji make a block at one point, which was pretty good. I'm just wondering, how many are they going to keep, and how are they going to keep 4 tackles?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Like, how comfortable are they with one of those guys if they have to slide them inside? Like Ryan Poles has mentioned in the past that Theo has played a little bit of guard. Benedett was on the practice squad last year, guys, and when I chatted with him the other day, he said that 70% of his practice reps last season came at guard. Now, he's been a guard just a little bit here in training camp. Last year they kept 9 offensive linemen at the initial move to 53. So 9 seems to be if you've got your thing built right and you're healthy, 9's probably the right number for most teams. Could they?
So they started Newman, right, in that game. Who would be the
Bates? Right?
Is Bates? Oh, Bates started. Right. Newman came in.
Well, yeah, Bates. Yeah, Newman started, but Bates. Here's the thing with Bates, guys, is Bates has been center guard all camp, and Bates has gotten a lot of snaps at center based on the injury to Doug Kramer, right?
Right.
So the Doug Kramer injury has created a need there, and so Bates has kind of shown the ability. And he's been on the practice field every day.
Oh, good.
That was the big thing with him a year ago. And actually, in terms of keeping 9 up, I'll have to go back and check my notes here after we're off the air. They might have kept 10 at the initial roster cut last year, but you're either going to go 9 or 10. And then you're only going to dress 7 on game day, though, because you're going to have one guy that can play outside and another guy that can kind of hit all 3 interior spots. Because you're not having a special teams need for an 8th offensive lineman on the game day roster.
All right, Brad, let's talk about the wide receivers, because we saw DJ Moore catch a pass. We saw Roma Dunze drop one that probably he should have caught, I think. Olamide Zaccheaus has been maybe the standout at that position, and Luther Burden showed up last night, not only in the passing game, but in the run game with blocking. How do you feel, number one, about overall the wide receivers in camp, and secondly, how that pecking order may evolve and change as the season progresses?
Yeah, I think the pecking order there is going to be sort of a week-to-week thing. Who are they? Who do they feel is performing well in practice, and how does, even more importantly, how does the game plan for that week sort of shape what they want to do? How do they want to attack the opposing defense? Do they want to have a lot of 11 personnel in the game plan, which would be 3 wide receivers? Do they want to lean into more 12 personnel, especially on early downs? Well, in that case, you're talking about having 2 wide receivers on the field. So that's going to be very week to week. And just because a guy maybe doesn't get a lot of action one week doesn't mean that he hasn't performed well or they're necessarily down on him. It's just going to be kind of the way that it went. But they've got a whole bunch of talent at that position. I mean, really, with the top 4 wide receivers and the 2 tight ends, and then the running back or running backs, you've got just so many different combinations that Ben Johnson really get to. But we're not even going to be able to see them all in preseason here. Like,
right.
It's just there's so many different things that he could do, and these kind of skill sets that they can try to highlight and take advantage of it. Because it's all, I mean, it's a matchup league, right? You're lining up your guys, and you're looking for a way to get an edge on their guys, and they're just going to be able to do so much more than I think they've been able to really get after in many recent seasons.
Okay, so just injury-wise, Terrell Smith carted off. That's awful.
Yeah.
Whenever you
he
see
looks
something
in
like
a lot
that,
of pain,
that looks bad. Austin Booker left the game, but under his own weight, and walked off and didn't return. I'm just wondering how did they come out of that game? Monangai was hurt apparently on Friday, right?
Yeah, Monangai's got something minor.
Okay.
I think it's soft tissue, but I don't think that there's a high level of concern that he is going to be out.
Jalen Johnson worked out before.
That was maybe the biggest deal of the night. To see him running around, Brad.
Looked like he could run.
Jalen Johnson gets a little workout in beforehand, which, although that tracks with what they've told us, right?
Yes.
You know, it went from best case scenario to Monday night to against the Vikings to them then feeling good about him. So, yeah, I mean, the Terrell Smith thing's tough because I'll tell you what, guys, in the last week plus, he'd been making a real push to be in the mix for that 53-man roster. I mean, a fantastic practice against the Dolphins and that crossover. I thought he played well in that game, and it's just really you never want to see that happen to anybody. And Dave, to circle back, it was 10 offensive linemen that they kept in roster cutdowns.
That's good.
Last year,
just 2 quarterbacks, though.
Yeah, the previous 2 years on the O-line, that number had been 9.
All right, Bigsy, we'll let you go. Thanks a ton. Obviously, we're going to wait for an injury report of some kind today and just get a better feel for who's healthy, who's not. I doubt they're playing anyone against Kansas City. Is that correct?
No. I think they're going to give strong consideration to playing some starters against the Chiefs, given that it'll be like 16 days before they open. I mean, they're just, you got to play your offensive line if you're playing your quarterback. Maybe. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.